to Round Table Talk, Texas Edition. I am Veteran Crypto, aka Mike, and this is Taylor, and this is Jeff. And let us know if you are getting any kind of weird audio. Let me know if you're getting any weird echoes or anything like that. But we will go ahead and kick it off. Oh, hold on, let me bring up my notes.
Staring at me.
Yeah,
we're just staring at Jeff. You gotta be active, Michael. People want to look at that.
All right. Yeah, I'm on the ones and twos, I guess what this is called. So this is new for me. So, well, let's start out with introductions. So let's see.
There we go.
So this evening we're going to be talking about kind of the announcement earlier today with Trump, and where he announced basically Bitcoin, Ethereum, Sol, ADA, and XRP, where they were going to be a part of the
strategic crypto reserve,
something like that. And then it just set off all the markets. And I mean,
Is it still going crazy?
that's what it's saying.
Look.
So what's the traditional markets doing? I know crypto's going nuts.
I haven't even looked at futures. Let me look at futures real quick. It's an interesting thing because obviously the futures are down in the traditional markets. Not a ton, barely. 81 points in the Dow, it's not much. But the people I follow on Twitter, X, it's interesting. It's a very bipolar response, right? It's like, this is amazing or this is terrible, depending upon your perspective. The biggest gripe I've seen is more, hey, the president just decided to pick, granted Bitcoin always kind of makes sense if you're doing crypto reserve, but to pick 5 coins, right? Current or
And Michael has an opinion about that. Why don't you throw that out there, Michael?
What is it? What opinion?
Or like how pissed off you were this morning. He chose what?
Yeah. I wasn't pissed off. I'm just like, really? So, Sol. Sol can't even handle the volume that meme coins, having meme coins on it. How is it going to be part of the, any sort of meaningful network, for the U.S. government?
Well, I actually have an incredibly ignorant response to that.
Go ahead.
But technically, a reserve is just like Fort Knox, right? I mean, or like the strategic oil reserve.
Absolutely.
You buy it, you keep it. It's sort of a floor, and you at least with oil, you theoretically release it when there's a gas shortage or something. Gold's just meant to be a pseudo backstop to a portion of a currency. So they wouldn't be. If they establish this, it should not be traded. It should simply be purchased at a certain pace.
But I mean, from a TradFi standpoint, wouldn't you want it to be something of value?
Well, that's the argument, right? So obviously, gold has a long traditional sort of acceptance as a store of value. Not to mention it's got some commercial uses, and certainly, obviously, until we solve cold fusion or something, oil is oil. The big complaints I see on the negative side is it doesn't really do anything, and it doesn't. And you're picking an asset that is very volatile historically. So usually you want something in reserve that's stable or relatively stable, or it has a very high utility. So like oil goes down pretty significantly, but it's got a very high utility, right? Whereas gold can quote unquote crash, but it's traditionally pretty stable. The other thing though is let's pretend crypto wasn't crypto, which is obviously kind of weird to do because it's its own thing. If he had picked 5 pharmaceutical stocks, or 5 energy companies, or 5 tech companies, and call it the tech reserve, because AI is the future, we want to have a piece of the companies that are pushing the frontier forward, so we're going to buy NVIDIA and Microsoft and Google and whatever, which might be a better argument. That would literally be illegal. Can't do it.
Well, and like at 4 o'clock on Friday, someone bought a million call options on Master.
Someone else separately, I saw this with 50x long on Bitcoin, held it 24 hours. Like 20, roughly 24 hours before, sold it right after the announcement. It was a $200 million position of leverage. And they made about $6-7 million. Literally, had somebody who was a Bitcoin ETH, had Bitcoin ETH gone down by about 1.5%, they would have been completely wiped out. So they knew something was going to happen. I mean, there are some people that have taken advantage of this fraud on a massive scale.
That's actually a good point, because this is like one of the things that that Doge is trying to come out about. It's like, hey, Congress is doing this. Now we have Trump doing it. Where he's apparently doing things, and then his inner people are making massive amounts of money.
And Trump Coin, which obviously is not part of it, but it's in the same ecosystem. It's up 24% in a day. That's because people are going, well, it's
significantly down comparatively.
Well, relatively speaking, but I'm saying still.
But the problem is like, I don't think Trump was the one purchasing those things, but people around him are doing it. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you want to talk about draining the swamp and getting rid of all. It's still going now, just with a different group. You need to be switching off of his gut. They don't want to be watching that.
Oh, baby. It's not actually a baby.
So,
I don't subscribe to that.
But that's the kind of issues that we're having right now, this whole problem with trustworthiness in our system. And people in your inner circle are doing shit.
Right. And it could have been as simple as like an inner circle guy tells his good buddy at the hedge fund, oh man, we're about to do this. And the guy's like, well, I mean, it may not be that nefarious, but it still looks like it.
You want to switch this? I can.
No, I'm trying to fix the audio. People are saying it's echoing. You guys just go ahead and keep talking. See if I can fix it.
Should we just jump in the other room and just go through the other rooms?
No, I kind of want to fix this. I definitely like to set up better.
I know this system would be awesome, but maybe we just it's probably going to take us a while to figure it out.
Well, I don't mind echoing people's ears.
No one will listen.
This is what it was like growing with my mother.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how to shut the camera mics off.
Yeah, it's going to be really like it took us forever to figure out how to get it originally set up when we had it. Figuring this out just a few minutes is not going to happen. I remember we spent 3 hours messing with it to get it to work the way that we had it before.
Do we have Jeff online?
He was.
But we can't even hear him.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and we'll ask the first talking point. So let's start with like macro forces that are shaping the landscape. Global liquidity, interest rates, the political winds, geopolitical tensions. I know that's kind of a lot to throw at you guys, but how do you feel that those factors are playing into what's happening right now in the markets?
We talk about traditional markets or
both traditional markets, because they're moving too. So what happened was Friday between Zelensky and Trump. You got today. Trump made that announcement. You have the strategic reserve. There's tariffs that are being levied. So there's so much going on.
Just turn off these mics, and we'll just use your camera. All right. Like that one button I had that one time.
Let's see what happened on Friday.
Okay, we hear it all now.
Let's ask people.
Yeah, we should do it this way.
Can you hear us?
Hey, can you hear us? Deadwood? All you guys listening? Can you hear us? It'll take a second. Someone can hear us or not?
I'll flip it on you. You're just watching me just stare there like an idiot.
Hey, Mr. Mark, Steve-O. You guys hear us? Can you guys hear us? It does not look like it. All right, let's try this.
Somebody respond now.
How about now? Can you guys hear us? If we don't get this, then maybe we'll just switch over to our phones.
Yeah, why don't we just jump over it?
It's not me.
What?
It's not me.
Can you all hear us?
No, I'm saying the phones.
All right. They can hear us. All right. Cool.
All right.
So how's the echo? You still getting the echo?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump out.
All right. So I mean, let's go with Jeff first. How do you feel that everything's going on? How is it affecting the traditional markets?
So I don't really have. I didn't.
Oh, never mind. There's anything bad. All right. Let's switch over to phones.
All right. Cool.
I'll go to a different room.
All right. I'll switch over to.
All right. I'll do the same, I guess. I'll go to my office. I should have brought my laptop. That's all right. I was doing my phone anyway. Yeah, I need my drink.
All right. So can you hear me now? And there's no echo.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, you got no echo. I heard the echo. I was trying to talk, but I guess you guys couldn't hear me. I think the setup might be, kind of funky. Can everyone else hear me? Hello?
I can hear you. All right. Yeah, let's just do this.
I can hear you, Jeff. Michael, can you hear him?
Yeah.
Yep, I can hear you.
Clear. You're good. Everyone's
all
good.
right. We'll do this, and we'll get the studio dialed in for next Sunday. So I guess the issue that we had was that the mics on the cameras were working, and the actual boom mics were working as well. So we were getting all kinds of cross echoes. So we'll figure it out. So let's jump back into what we were talking about. Jeff will be with us here in a second. Yeah, let's close this up. So Taylor, how about you start off and tell us kind of how you think what those items that I mentioned are affecting the markets right now.
So actually, I have an interesting story about this. This week, I was messing around with Grok 3 because it is fantastic. And so it was amazing to see the developments that they've made. So one of my platform issues that I've kind of been putting out there is that of the economic upheaval that's coming. So I said, okay, let's take into account Jeff.
I'm trying.
All right, it's loud.
Trying. It won't work.
I know.
There.
Okay.
Shit.
So we lost Michael. What the hell is going on? So I'll go through the 5 things I put into Grok. I said, okay, we have we have $37 trillion worth of debt, stock market that's overvalued about 74%. We have a housing bubble forming right now and starting to collapse. And so I kind of listed all these things off because Grok was like saying, well, the economy looks good, unemployment's low, and it's listing off all these issues and saying there doesn't seem to be anything going on that would be a significant headwind. I said, well, and I listed all these things off, and I said, what would be a catalyst in this environment to send us into a serious economic depression? And its response was, well, probably geopolitical tensions like tariffs. And I was like, well, maybe somebody should get Elon and Trump on Grok and look into it a little bit about this idea of whether or not we should be going and getting doing tariffs right now and everything. But I thought it was fascinating. But the reality of the situation, what's going on right now, is there are significant financial problems right now in the American economy. And I think the easiest way to talk to people about this and get them to see it is we've literally become a nation right now that's not producing any goods or services. We become a nation that's just really financial markets. That's it. Everybody is going to trading online. Nobody's wanting to go out and work and do jobs. And I don't blame people, because the reward right now is to go invest your money. But the problem is, if everybody does that, you don't have an economy. It's all going to fall apart. So we have this problem that we're having right now, which is, if you go out and do the hard work, you are not rewarded for it. And the people who get lucky or maybe have insider information or whatever's going on in the markets are making fortunes. And so it definitely is exactly it is going to be a significant financial situation that's going to be very difficult, if impossible, ever to repair. Like, there's just too many issues going on right now in the U.S. economy to, I think, easily repair this without significant headwind for a long period of time. Like, unless you inflate the currency more and totally destroy the working class with inflation, I don't see how you get out of the issues.
Well, Jeff, what are you what are you seeing in the markets right now? I mean, that's your bread and butter. I mean, being licensed financial advisor and all that. I mean, you have a very unique insight to the traditional markets. And then I'll after you give your input, I definitely want to get Jeff's input on the crypto market. But I mean, what is your thoughts? I mean, like Rifleman, he says, I don't think there'll be a 1930s depression again. The stocks crashed in 1929, but the depression was really from the bank run of 1930 and 1931. I mean, I mean, do you feel like that we're getting set up for a pump, a dump? Are we in a bubble? I mean, what are your thoughts?
So, a couple things. So, I do want to say, he mentioned that 74% of our value, and I think I saw the same statistic, but it was 74% higher. It was a 74% margin in value between U.S. stocks and international stocks was what I saw. However, I do think that compared to historical norms, the markets, particularly in like the FANG stocks, is extremely frothy. There's not realizing necessarily who I'm talking to, but one of the most basic metrics of the market, right, is how much do you price to earnings ratio, which is how much do you pay for a stock versus how much does the stock earn, right? Because obviously, if you have a company that has 10 shares at $10 a share, and the company's worth $100, and it earns $10 a year in profit, well, each share earns $1 of that, right, on a pro rata basis. And so, historically, the S&P is priced at like about anywhere from like 14 to 16 and a half dollars per dollar of earnings. So if a company makes $1 of profit, usually the share is $15. Company makes $10 of profit, the share is $150, etc. You look at things like Nvidia and Tesla and Microsoft, and you're in the 40s and 50s and 60s and 200s. I mean, you have these massive overvaluations relative to historical norms. And the challenge is that's fine. It can be that way. But when something's an outlier like that, you have to wonder, how long is it going to be an outlier? So I would echo Taylor's position in general. I think we're facing extremely fraught conditions when you consider we have the lowest, like last year was the lowest amount of housing sales on record since 1995. housing transactions. Yet we have, I don't know, I'm going to guess 50 million more people than we did in 1995. This year it's on pace for the lowest on record ever. You've got, I just went to Costco with my wife, so I feel like they should just give me a credit card every time you walk through that place.
They should pour champagne for you. And
there's a lot of enthusiasm, at least for a significant percentage of the population, on sort of the Doge idea. And I am a fan of one part of that. And the part I'm a fan of is that the average American finally seems mad enough at a level that the politicians have to pay attention to. But the reality is, I think you've already laid off like 200,000 government workers. You lay off more, and I'm not saying they shouldn't necessarily have. I'm not even making a comment as to whether those are good ideas or not long term. But short term, all those people that actually work in the government. I don't mean Pelosi and AOC and Rand Paul, but the people that actually are working 9 to 5, 5 days a week. They pay rent, they buy gas, they buy food, right? They go to school, they go to movies. Like, they're citizens that are spending the dollars they earn, and we're adding significant percentages of people to the unemployment payrolls. And if this is any indication, if what they want to do comes to fruition, they'll put us in an employment recession just based on the number of people they lay off from the government alone this year. So I do think we are going to see a significant slowdown in the economy. I think the other thing that people need to be aware of is, what's called the business cycle, right? Expansion, boom, correction, bust, rinse, repeat. Well, unfortunately, we got real spoiled with the Fed over the last 20 years, and people don't really like to have the recessions. They don't like to have the busts, right? I understand that. So when you look at what's happened over the since the financial crisis, particularly, really since the tech bubble, is you have a very accommodative Fed that blew the real estate bubble, then the real estate bubble crashed. But then we needed to keep rates low to keep employment full and to keep things operating, which meant that all the asset classes, real estate, personal real estate, commercial real estate, stocks, everything just exploded. And then when we finally had a recession, a short-term one for COVID, Biden printed so much money, he papered over it, and we got inflation instead. Not just because of the printing, but because of the worldwide issues with supply chains. And now here we are. So when Taylor says, I don't know how we correct it, I think that we absolutely could correct it. It's just the problem is we'd have to allow the public to go through a level of economic pain that they haven't seen since the 70s. And people don't feel like we should suffer that anymore, right? Now, as far as the 30s are concerned, if you Google the number one thing that they think exacerbated the Great Depression was the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. So tariffs do not have a good history when it comes to that. But I do agree that a depression level event is not as likely, short of, assuming we don't have some kind of, bird flu contagion or, nuclear war or something horrible, just because there's systems in place that they weren't in the Great Depression, right? If a market falls too much, there's circuit breakers. If a share falls too much over a period of days, it just stops trading for the day. There was no FDIC in the Great Depression, right? There was no SPIC. There was no SEC. Like, all of these things came out of the Great Depression in response to that scenario. So
yeah,
I don't.
There's a lot of things that weren't as bad as they are today. For example, there wasn't a $37 trillion debt hanging over.
Oh, for sure.
There wasn't a Social Security system that was not funded that could completely fall apart. Our nation was a lot healthier in a lot of ways back then than it is today.
Well, we were on the gold
and
standard.
our dollar was back.
There was a lot of
dollar was back
a lot of
gold.
Yeah.
Jeff, I think let's let Jeff talk about that a little bit. Go into that.
Not
Jeff. Not the other Jeff.
Blockchain.
Jeff.
Well, I have a question to segue into crypto Jeff.
I like that, crypto Jeff. We'll do that.
So crypto Jeff. DCA and Prey says there's no breadth in the market. It's all the top dogs. Basically, what he's saying is and historically, for alt season to truly kick off, we need to see the Bitcoin dominance drop below, like around or below 50%. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, where are we currently?
I don't know. I
Actually,
haven't checked the dominance.
You know what? I'll check that. Give us your thoughts
I think with
on
the amount
what's happening right now with the markets pumping and with the news today.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the tokens that were selected for this, at least the initial, because he left it kind of open for more to come in the future, right? He said, and other crypto assets down the road. So I think it's interesting that he picked Solana. Like I was messaging you, Mike, earlier today, that what I think he picked Solana or included Solana is because his meme coin. The Trump and Melania are on Solana network. So if Solana pumps, you're going to get all this, all these people coming in. So why not? But Cardano, I think, is because Charles Hoskinson and him have previous relationships and stuff. So that's kind of obvious. Ripple, I mean, it makes sense, but it's interesting to see him do all this right now with the timing of the market. And you could say it was all strategic. Like what I think, Jeff, you mentioned earlier about the person that took the position 24 hours before the big pump. I mean, certain things are kind of obvious, and especially on blockchain, you can track when transactions are placed and kind of see like, okay, somebody knew something. But I actually wanted to ask you, Jeff, about your thoughts on the stock buybacks over the years and how those have inflated stock prices and caused this overvaluation or part of the overvaluation, especially right leading up to COVID. How do you think that has affected the markets, and where do you think they should actually be at, like the S&P and NASDAQ? Like where should we truly be at, like 2000 or 3000?
I think I'm just throwing numbers out at this point. Now there's plenty of really smart people you can read that land all over the map on what you asked. But so you asked two parts. So I'm going to do the first part. So stock buybacks, right? It's just where companies use either profits or they raise capital in the debt markets to buy their shares back and put it out of the public markets into the treasury stock at the company. And so when you do that, right, if I'm a company and there's 9 outstanding shares and I buy one of my, or sorry, there's 10 outstanding shares and I buy one of those shares. So now there's only 9 outstanding shares. I've taken the earnings that were allocated to that 10th share and I've redistributed amongst the 9 that are left. So it makes my company look like it's grown in profit, like it's made more money per share. But really, I've just reduced the amount of shares we're dividing the money by. It is legal. It's a bit of a parlor. There is reasons to do it, but it's a bit of a parlor trick. And here's what kind of sucks. It's one of those things where if you're sitting in the C-suite or the board of directors and you all got tons of stock options, particularly if you're at a company like the airlines or Coca-Cola or something that maybe isn't necessarily avant-garde innovating, it was a really, really, really easy way to hit your metrics, show year-over-year earnings growth, get tons of compensation, kind of the rich get richer kind of thing, but you're not truly adding value at all. It's just an accounting trick. But at the same time, if you ran a company and your finance people come to you and say, hey, man, we can borrow it 3% and buy back X amount of shares, and this is what's going to do our share price. Unfortunately, that's hard to say no to. I'd like to think that I would rather give that out in bonuses and raises and spend on infrastructure and capital expenses and things that would make the company better, or even dividends to shareholders. But no, I do think that has a significant impact on valuations. I actually read that the entirety of the airlines growth from 2016, like the majors, American, Delta, whatever, from like 2016 to 2020 was simply because of share buybacks. And it was in to the tune of literally like tens upon tens of billions of dollars. Like it was a ton of money. But then they came around and asked the US government, you got to bail us out because of COVID, which is just like, no, you chose to use your money like that. And now so when times are good, you enrich yourselves. And when times are bad, all of a sudden you become a public good and we have to bail you out. So I definitely have an issue with that. I think you could easily make an argument that the stock market is, I don't even know about the NASDAQ, but the S&P is probably 30%, 40% overvalued by historical norms, relative just to the S&P 500 itself. And then the thing that is really scary is, like, for example, in 2023, the market went up like 24%, right? If you backed out the FANG stocks of the S&P 500, which is the 500 largest companies in America, right? We're talking Waste Management and Exxon and American Express and Coca-Cola, right? All these different companies. If you backed out basically the huge tech stocks, 493 companies went up on average 3%, which was less than inflation in 2023. So it's sort of like, so here's, in a nutshell, I'm going to shut up after this. In a nutshell, here's the problem with the market. It's the same. If right now Mark Cuban walks in the building that Taylor and Mike and I are in for some random reason, on average, the people in this building are worth $1 billion or more. But the reality is, it's me, Taylor, Michael, and a multi-billionaire, right? So it skews. So people start looking at things. Oh, I'm diversified. I own all of these things, and they don't realize how much of their risk is really concentrated in these few companies. And I'm like everybody else, man. I don't know how far it goes, right? I don't know how far Microsoft and NVIDIA and all these things go. But when it does finally come to earth, a whole lot of people, if they don't have hedge strategies or principal protection in the part of their portfolio, are going to get their asses handed to them for sure.
But well, I don't know about you, Jeff, but I've been selling my feet pics on OnlyFans, and I am getting pretty damn close to being a billionaire. So,
I guess I need to set my account up then.
I want to throw out like the only there is one lining in this whole story that we might have like a way out, like of this disaster that's coming at us, and that is with AI and robotics, not just AI. Like, AI is great in that it can really help with the services aspect of growing our economy, because the reality is like, as things become more concentrated, everybody is becoming a lot more efficient with AI. So the services that people are getting are increasing at a significant rate. Like right now, I went and did a campaign speech at some park today, and I was talking to a young man, and he was explaining that he just lost his company. He started up a company, lost it, and he had signed a bunch of contracts to do a bunch of work, and he was really having a hard time. And he went to a law firm, and they said, well, for us to defend you, it was going to cost $30,000. And he just lost his business. He had no money. So he went to ChatGPT, put those contracts in, and when he was talking to the attorneys of the other side, he just had ChatGPT be his attorney. And he was able to negotiate himself out of everything, and he saved that whole $30,000. And that's an example how AI is making things more efficient, more cost-effective for people, solving issues that are out there, and that, someone like him, he was never going to be able to pay an attorney $30,000 to do the work, but it would really put him in the hole to get a lot of judgments against him, where he was able to settle out these debts because he could he explained to me that some of the ways that ChatGPT helped him talk to a lawyer, kind of explaining, hey, it's better that your client settles with me than sues me. Anyway, that next step of having robotics, because at the end of the day, all these numbers on the screen in crypto or stocks, it's not real things. It's just our belief value of things to say, well, this is worth this and this is worth this. What really matters to us.
I mean, isn't that all things though? I mean,
no, because
everything is perceived value.
Because you ate Ritz crackers just a minute ago. That was actually something you put into your mouth. A product was given to you. Like, that's the problem with this whole kind of system.
But the value of a Ritz is different for somebody that is starving to death and somebody that's just wanting to have a snack.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get the point across is like we have become so obsessed with our financial markets as being our economy,
I agree with,
except for and excluding the fact that you got to produce things. You got to make people's lives better and easier. And the problem is in real life that we are experiencing what's happening right now. It's getting more and more difficult to get those products. It's harder to buy a home. It's harder to buy a car because
absolutely,
things are, one, there's inflation, but people aren't doing the hard work today in the numbers that they were before. So people aren't building homes. And so you have these issues that are happening because in the real world, people aren't working. That's the problem. So there is a hope here in the fact that AI and robotics together can increase the production of goods and services in our lives and reduce the cost of everything and make the economy a lot better. Because the only way in the past that we could do that is you collapse an economy, you make people really poor and hungry, and then they go do the dirty jobs again. Like, that's the reality. Like, I don't want to leave this nice, cushy office and go shovel shit, but I will get hungry enough one day where I will go do that. But an economy has to crash for that to happen. So it's either going to crash one way. We can keep artificially keeping it up by doing magic tricks with the Fed, or the reality is behaviors have to change. People have to become hardworking people for our society to function. Like we've gotten away with so many people being, lazy and just getting handouts that none of us really want to go do those hard jobs. And so the good news is we might not have to if we can keep this fake system going long enough. Sorry, I keep trashing the whole system, but it kind of is trash right now. But if we keep it long enough and robotics comes into play and the hard work is being done by robots, well, we might be able to find a way out of this mess without having, which I disagree with Jeff. I think we will have a significant depression if behaviors don't change.
So
no, I just meant like
the question
year,
the question that I want to ask is, and this
Hey, Mike, we got Drew in the wing. I don't know if you saw him.
Oh no, I didn't. Here, let me get him in here because I can definitely ask.
He's been
him.
hanging out.
No, he's. He should be able to join. He just needs to turn his camera and mic on.
It is. I see him on the side, but I don't know if you can.
Oh yeah. Okay, I see him in the shades and. All right, here we go.
He's got ninja.
Let's see. Actually, no. Let's just do this. Let's switch out of the.
Oh, look at that!
There we go. There we go.
Up. He's going up.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. All right. We got him back. All right. Well, I got some crypto questions for the Druth. So Drew, walk us in. Tell us what the events of today, how it plays into the crypto market, and kind of where you see the markets going from here. We were just looking at the Bitcoin dominance. And
is he talking?
What's that?
I can't hear him. I don't know if he's talking or not.
No, he's not talking yet. I am.
Oh.
So,
no, he's muted right now.
Oh yeah. He needs to take his.
There you go.
You're muted, Drew.
He was trying to talk, but
okay.
There you go.
All right. So yeah, walk us through it, Drew.
No, I mean, I can understand why you guys are. There's a lot of questions. Like, how are we going to dig ourselves out of this? I think the coolest thing going on in the next few weeks is there's like $1 trillion due back to the Treasury that these banks took to like stay afloat in March of 2023. And the craziest part about it is the Treasury gave the banks these loans on kind of these grandfathered valuations where like commercial real estate's kind of the biggest pain in the ass for the banks because it lost all the value because people aren't doing shit, so, and that you can do remote work. You don't need those spots. So the Treasury gave these loans to the banks, assuming that their properties, that there were commercial real estate securities, assumed that the properties were going to return back to the valuations that were pre-COVID, right? And it just didn't happen. So like for Bank A, they'd be getting like, let's say they have $100 million commercial real estate location that they want to take this emergency loan out against to kind of backstop the bank. But at the time, in aggregate, they had fallen from let's say 100 million to 60 million. And they're like, Treasury's okay. These are going to return back in 2 years. Yada yada. We're going to give you this loan. Shit did not work out, and now all that money is due back. That is the like coolest problem. I mean, obviously there comes with pain. I get it. Yada yada. Sad, whatever. But this is where I get excited. The system's breaking. Like.
Okay, so Drew's an anarchist. All right, good to know.
Well, see,
Dude.
Drew's a homesteader like I am, so we're just like, fuck it, whatever.
Collapse now and beat the rush.
Right.
No, yeah, it's kind of fun, man. And like, Bitcoin and crypto and all this stuff, it's really, it's not going to be highly useful unless there's a major problem to fix. They wouldn't be looking.
Oh, did we lose Drew?
The truth was dropping some great stuff. Dang it.
Dude, I literally wrote that down, collapse now and beat the rush. If that's not a t-shirt, I don't know what is.
You're getting a t-shirt.
Yeah, I keep getting kicked out. I keep getting kicked out of Rumble, just so you know. So I don't know. I'm just gonna keep coming back in. But
there you go.
Collapse now, beat the rush, man. And that's like, Bitcoin and all these things being chosen as like a strategic reserve. That's great. But also, I gotta say, anyone in commercial, heavy industrial construction or tilt-up construction is going to make a killing over the next 10 years because they are going to print tens of trillions of dollars to build out data center infrastructure and nuclear power plants. I think that those tilt-up sectors and like vertical, structural concrete builders, if anyone is in that industry or if anyone like is trying to figure out a way to like break in and really make a killing, I think personally that sector is going to go absolute. And I used to do this for 10 years. I was a headhunter and I was an HR manager for heavy civil and commercial construction, where I'd hire the dude to build whatever skyscraper and stuff. Me cholo outfit and everything. So I
you're like evolving into a cholo.
Oh, dude, yeah, no, I went to the mall and stuff.
Oh man. Maybe I need to leave. This is way more.
No, it's his connection.
Oh, shit.
That's hilarious. By the way, while he comes back in the next 10 seconds, real quick, I saw something about 3 weeks ago. Skyscraper, nice office building like Milwaukee was originally sold for like 90 million or something. Just sold at auction. Oh no, for like 300 million, was valued down to 9 million, 90 million, just sold at auction for 6 million. And it's like a 30-story skyscraper.
Yeah, there's one in San Francisco that sold for like 3 million. That was
super crazy.
That's Nancy Pelosi's buying up everything she can in San Francisco, bro. That's what her next big move is. She's moving into that. She's capturing all that pain in San Francisco.
I also think, by the way, I think
as a she basically lets the state, in San Francisco go to shit, so that the freaking property values plummet, and then just swoops in and buys everything up at a bargain.
Well, I will say this. So, like you guys probably heard the rant that was leaked by Jamie Dimon a couple of weeks ago about coming back to work and all sort of stuff, right? But I do think a large part of the go back. I'm not saying that there's not some benefit to that. Maybe it's culture, maybe it's your moderate employee to lower employees not going to do as well if they don't have supervision. But I think the big push is because none of these Fortune 1000 firms want to have to justify to their shareholders why they have all this empty rent on 10-year leases, right? With no ROI, yes. Right? Yep. So they want to be like, no, we have to pay it. It's not because we're morons that if we have to sell this building or break this lease, it's going to cost us hundreds of millions of dollars. It's no, COVID's over, we're back to work. And I really think that's a large part of it is the CFOs have come in with their teams and said, hey guys, we're paying for literally tens of millions of square foot space that's empty.
Absolutely.
What are we doing,
dude? Right? I used to have an entire editing, like a whole department for editing and graphics and everything like that. I can get all of it done using AI in 10 minutes, bro. Like I like it's insane, and I see these coffee cups of what's other things that an editor can do. Name it, a magician, a fantastical sorcerer. This is
Yeah.
they, and then literally over the course of 2 years, type a couple prompts in, do a couple AI cutouts, a little AI.
Oh, damn. Guys, we could get a side gig going on betting on when he's going to freeze.
There you go. There you
Uh,
go. So my question that I want to ask him is where he thinks. Hey, Drew, I want to know where you think that the crypto market's going to go next.
$200,000 of Bitcoin and American-made projects. I think in aggregate we can accomplish 8 to 10 trillion. American-made projects are going to be a black hole of interest over this cycle, and I think people are going to be really upset that they are like, I get it. I'm a prepper. I drive around all day, just in case everything goes to hell over and over again. Every single day, I carry all my stuff with me, but I do acknowledge the fact that we're going to print $10 trillion to take over AI infrastructure. That's one of the same conversation of cryptographic communication encryption and data systems, encrypting data systems. That's what we're not like. Crypto is like
DAG. I'm waiting for DAG to take off.
That's just one, like ADA's an encryption, like all these are encryption systems. Like we've gotten so psyoped into thinking crypto means money go up and then money go really bad down, and then some asshole on crypto brags about it and everyone else complains. Like crypto is encrypted, data secure communication of value, of information. There's a lot of different use cases for crypto beyond me. Like memes are the biggest psyop to crypto because they made people think it was just number go up.
Well, I think there's important things to differentiate. So the difference between cryptocurrency and blockchain, for one, the difference between a speculative market and a utility market, and then also memes and coins that and projects that actually have use cases. So cryptocurrency, of course, I'll keep talking until he comes back. Cryptocurrency, of course, being the tokens themselves, blockchain being the technology that is being built upon. Memes are nothing but community. You're investing in a casino of a community that's able to go on social media and hype it up enough to where if you get in early, and then you can basically dump on the people that come in later. That's basically what a meme coin is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The early adopters are the ones that profit off the ones that see it on social media, and they did it to me last cycle with Sheeb, and and that's part of the learning curve. But I think as we're moving from a speculative market into an actual utility market, I think that we're at a pivot point right now where we're getting regulation, we're getting we're getting institutional money that's flowing in. There's a lot of macro events that are happening right now during this bull market that didn't happen before. Like what is Jeff, crypto Jeff and Drew? I mean, kind of what's your thoughts on that? Like unpack that a little bit.
I mean, my worst fear is that the damn price of Bitcoin doesn't give me the dip that I want in 2 years. Like, and altcoins are going to get crushed again. I'm going to just swap all my alts that I bought cheap into Bitcoin and more real estate. But my max pain is up only for Bitcoin at this point. I think that this is a collapse up.
Oh, there he goes again.
Jeff, I saw you grin, by the way, when he said 200,000 of Bitcoin. So I want to know what your opinion is on that.
Oh no, I think long term. It really depends. Drew, were you saying 200K this year?
Or like I think I think we're gonna hit 200K this year. But dude, also like I think that people are going to flee expensive living centers. I think that Ohio and all these flyover states are going to absolutely boom. I think that these cheap little real estate spots A lot of my smart real estate owners that I am friends with and I used to work for, they're out there gobbling up all of these places in Ohio, in West Virginia, even, because that's where they're flocking to affordability. Because you guys are talking about, they can't afford shit right now. The average person cannot afford shit. So they're going to these places to cut down their living expenses just to survive.
Well, I mean, Taylor, the office we're sitting in right now, it's his, law firm for wills and trusts, but also for his title company. So, I mean, he's, deeply tapped into, the real estate market. I mean, what are your thoughts, Taylor, on, kind of where we're sitting in the real estate markets?
We're definitely in a housing bubble. You kind of will know this because hedge funds are starting to massively sell their portfolios. They're trying to get out and especially in certain environments. Florida is a disaster. Texas is starting to become so. 30% of all houses for sale currently are in just Texas and Florida. And so, yeah. And because we don't have income taxes, we have property tax states.
And insurance.
And insurance is just shot through the roof. And so it's made housing unaffordable. Like, for example, in McKinney, to have an affordable house, meaning for the average citizen of McKinney, the gross household income of a family in McKinney is $120,000 a year. According to HUD, that would mean that the affordable house should be on average $300,000 in McKinney. It's $488,000 right now. 39% overvalued to be to an affordable level. And theoretically, this is the best times that we've had ever. I mean, people's incomes are the highest they've been. I mean, so if we have a downturn in the market, you have an additional problem. So housing has to come down. But the problem is housing works by supply and demand. We are not building enough homes for people in the DFW area, I should say. There are other parts of the country that people are fleeing, and there's plenty of houses. Plus, you have people parking in their house. I think it's 80% of people have an interest rate below 5%. Well, even though the Fed has been cutting rates for about 8 months now,
they're not passing it on to the consumer, right?
Yeah, it's not coming down because I think it's like $8.6 trillion this year has to be borrowed by the federal government because loans that are due. And so they're gobbling up the whole market, and the mortgages can't come down, even though they've been trying to bring down them. And that's kind of a scary proposition, that the Fed is trying to bring down the debt or the rates to kind of ease things, but it is not happening because there's so much debt out there, and that's a whole different thing. So there's one thing I want to talk about, though, about the crypto announcement by Trump. Trump does not unilaterally have the authority to create a strategic reserve. He can just encourage this. So if you've seen these ginormous pumps, like, this is not a time to jump in. Like, if you had money in, take a little bit off, enjoy your little jump here. But the reality is, this is not meaning that a lot of people just don't understand that. So they think like in a week or maybe 2 weeks, some reserve is going to be created and sort of, well, no, Congress has to pass that. Now, there is an argument that the Treasury could do it.
Well, I think he can create the reserve. He just can't fund the reserve.
Yeah. Well, there's an argument that he could through the Treasury, but I don't think he would do that anytime soon. I think that would be a last-ditch effort, towards the end of his term if he really wanted to push it. But Congress has to get on board with this. So this is, and if you haven't noticed, Congress isn't doing anything. It cannot get anything done right now. So this ain't happening anytime soon, this reserve that's going to come about.
Well, we're doing extraordinary measures in the Treasury just because of our debt ceiling issues. So, we're not really in the position to raise more capital to put money into, or to print more money to put into a strategic reserve anyway. So I do think, to some degree, this is a lot more, what is it, form over function or whatever. It sounds exciting, but it isn't a whole lot of stuff yet.
People are going to speculate the
They
shit
do
out
have,
of this stuff.
and Drew can probably speak on this more intelligently, but the U.S. government does have a large amount of seized Bitcoin
Yeah.
that they could use to seed that if it was
Yeah.
passed.
It's 200,000 Bitcoin. It's like a pretty good starting point. And like you guys are accurate. Like the one thing I will disagree with is that the speculation around this happening and even that the conversation's gonna make it to Congress is going to be enough fuel to get it to the price targets I'm talking about. I think that just the speculation and other nations realizing, oh shit, in 2026 and 2027, they're going to actually be buying it. That's why I see the Dubai and the Abu Dhabi wealth funds. They're all doing it ahead of time. They're doing as much as they can to get ahead of Congress because we're going to move slow, and we're going to have some states say yes and get it into action quicker because they're quicker and nimbler.
Yeah, no, that's he's bringing up a great point. Like these markets are beliefs, what people believe about them, and so if people believe that this is going to happen,
I will say
The
this:
the crypto market calls it buy the rumor, sell the news.
Yeah,
dude, next show we have to do this through my streaming thing because I can stream to all of our things from like one place and it won't keep kicking me out. I swear to God,
Right.
I'm gonna like Tether needs to like give Rumble some money so this app works better. Oh my God. So
I might just need to invest in.
Well, real quick, isn't Texas proposing their own strategic reserve?
Yeah, there's 5 other states
I was
that
thinking
said
like
no.
other states are going to follow suit. You know,
Yeah, we're up to
that's going to
25
bring
states are in
a shit ton of-
process. There's 25 states in process of this right now, Jeff. Like, and there's only 5 that have said no. Like, there's a lot
and
of
they're going to
states.
change their mind.
So I have a financial question for you two on this. Actually, for everybody, I guess. I've mentioned it to Taylor before. So let's say you got somebody, for argument's sake. Let's say that Drew's correct on the 200,000 in a year, but there could be a lot of volatility between now and then. So we have this crystal ball. Let's say it's going to happen. Why wouldn't I tell a client potentially, hey, instead of putting in 100, what's Bitcoin cost right now? I don't know,
Like
85,
93. No, 93.
Okay, so man, that is a pretty big move since yesterday or 2
It
days
sure
ago.
is.
It's like
So
10K.
let's say someone's got $93,000 to buy one Bitcoin, right? I mean, I realize you can buy fractional fractions
Right.
of it, but they got 93 grand. And let's say, hey, what's your pain point? They're like, oh man, I can't handle losing. I'm out at 80. I'm setting a stop loss. I'm out at 80 no matter what, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, a better use of that would be let's take 70 and invest that in a random basket of stuff, and take 13 and just buy options on Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin's going to, the one thing I know Bitcoin's not going to do is stay where it's at. It's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go sideways. But it's not just going to be like, well, it went from 93 to 94 to 92 over the next year. You know what's going to go like this. Why not just buy options, even if they're relatively expensive? And then you look in a year, and if Bitcoin's at 150, well, your 10 grand's turned into, even with the cost of the option, 40 or 50,000.
There's a lot of really smart people that are doing that, Jeff.
yeah.
What am I missing though?
No, I mean, if you just like, I'm looking at baskets of ETFs for insurance funds, right? I mean, I think insurance ETFs are pretty attractive, but what you're missing, I think, is that someone that gets shaken out at 80, like it's, it has enough volatility to drop down to 78 and then be back up to $94,000 in essentially, over a weekend, right? We went into this weekend with.
Oh, we went into that.
I hope he doesn't stroke out because we'll never know. We'll just think he's slipped and split. You know what I mean? We'll be like, he's coming back.
Jesus. No, I mean, I think that Bitcoin is like Bitcoin and real estate. I think that holding it and just being through multiple cycles pays me much greater dividends than messing around in other fields. Like that's just what worked for me, and I'm not gonna, tell someone to go, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not gonna go send it after options and all this stuff. And you're going to have extreme volatility. You're going to have swings of, $10, $20, $30,000 in the course of 2 days over the course of this year, I think. And the higher it gets, like 150, then you're going to see it slam down to 120. It's going to be very violent. If anyone looks at the actual path of Bitcoin over the multiple cycles, like you fall hard multiple times throughout the process. So really it's got to be a broad time frame, and if they have to be ready for Thunderdome. If they're coming into crypto, man, this is Thunderdome. Like, you can see easily how bad the charts can look and how bad sentiment gets in the course of like a week. And then all of Twitter is just like, it's over. The double top is in. I'm sorry. I told you to buy crypto. Me. And then all of a sudden we're back, and it's me. I just am so disgusted with my buying power in fiat. I don't trust that Wall Street's valuations are truly accurate. I don't like the consolidation of the valuation of Wall Street. I like Bitcoin for that reason.
Oh, we lost him again.
Yeah, but there's another thing that I would have like. One of the hardest problems right now, I actually think Bitcoin would be at that 200,000 valuation right now, but the fact that it's difficult to get in. There's not a good structure there yet. Like one of the biggest issues, I'm an estate planning attorney, is people that have Bitcoin is that there's almost an impossibility to pass it on to your heirs, because if they don't have your passwords or your seed phrase, they're out of luck. And so people are just going to on the market and buying companies that buy Bitcoin. And it's like, well, that kind of helps out, but not really the valuation of Bitcoin itself. Like there's so much not buying the coin because it's still too difficult of a process for most people.
Is there such a thing as a crypto trust? Can we just have some trust for people that
Roth IRA trust? Yeah, Roth IRA. You have IRA trust, you can put it in.
Well, and they also Coinbase just announced the other day. I put it on X that the Coinbase wallet is actually doing a bunch of upgrades that are about to go live. That is, further simplifying the process for people. As that barrier to entry that you're talking about, where kind of the average normie that doesn't know anything about crypto will be able to more effectively. And and I think that's where a lot of people are going to. I think that's where a lot of the regulation, the initial regulation needs to be, is on a lot of these centralized exchanges, to where there's backing of 1-to-1 and insurance and of some kind, because the crypto market is not going to be able to develop trust with the overall community of investors if everyone's always afraid that if an exchange goes down, you're going to lose everything. If it's
Didn't I see like 2 weeks ago $130 billion hack or something?
It was
1.5 billion.
Yeah, it was like 1.4, 1.5 billion that was hacked.
Yeah. Coinbase went down earlier again too, so that's another
Coinbase
thing.
always goes down, bro.
Pumps and stuff like it's a nightmare.
Yeah, how about like with me? I'm just training my kids how to self-custody. Like, why expand more blind trust into banks? Why not just use this insane power that's been given to us and become if I can be my own bank and my own food production and my own security, that's like.
And that's a great segue into DeFi. So, like, Drew, give me your rundown on where you see DeFi now, and I want to kind of go around the horn here, but we'll start with you.
I'll be rugged. I guarantee you I'll be rugged. I'll tell you, and I know exactly. I want to answer it because it's going to kick me off again. I'm going to have to come back on, and I'm going to do it because I like this, guys. I like this. It's fun. I'm going to come back in. So I think that World Liberty Pi is a testing ground for a treasury-driven DeFi application that will be seen over the next 5 to 10 years.
Oh, he was right.
He got it.
I thought he was just pausing for emphasis.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Boom.
For dramatic pause for dramatic effect. All right.
You got it perfect.
Treasury driven in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I think treasury-driven DeFi use case in 5 to 10 years from now, and I think that Aave is going to turn into one of the biggest banks, if not the biggest bank on the planet. I think that this is really the beginning. What we see is America's trying to find different tools that it can start digging itself out of its grave of debt with. And things are going to get very, very ugly on our GDP. I want your guys' opinion on this. So Elon is doing all this like massive amounts of cuts to the workforce, the federal government, right? But the workforce and the production within that came up. I think it makes up like 25 or like 28% of our GDP or some stupid amount. And then another 25% comes from the healthcare industry. So we have Robert F. Kennedy is sharpening his knives, getting ready to absolutely, I mean, we already see the CDC and the NIH and all the hubbub with the medical industry. And then Elon's out here cutting all these federal employees. Are we, we're going to be shooting ourselves in the leg and going to have to cauterize the wound and grow a new leg is how I look at it, because we're reliant on those GDP numbers that are produced out of the medical industrial complex and the federal government employees to go into our GDP to lift it up, right? So we're going to be hurting ourselves pretty bad by gutting that infrastructure.
But I mean, it is kind of battlefield triage though, where we almost need to cut that off because
absolutely,
the way that it's it's almost a tumor. It's not a leg.
Yeah. And kids are so excited to eat candy again because they know Red 40 makes them sick and poisons them. They cannot wait for it, bro. Like, she's gonna talk some trash.
Crypto Jeff, what are your thoughts on DeFi and where we're at now and how do you see it evolving in the future to where it becomes kind of mainstream? I mean, obviously I have my opinion, but I'll save mine for last.
No, it's an interesting take that I haven't really heard before by Drew is the Aave becoming like one of the biggest banks, and that's really interesting to think about because it has me thinking of when there is proper regulation and stuff will kind of like in traditional finance, how you need to have, in order to day trade, you have to have $25,000 and there's certain accreditations that will give you access to certain things in the market, financial markets. So will we reach that same point in the crypto space with certain financial markets? I know certain things are decentralized, but other things like Aave, will they be more strict on regular users and require them to do get like a special certification? I kind of wonder about that long term, because I know that they were trying to implement that whole you being a broker with like what was that bill that the left was trying to?
I know what you're talking about, where they were trying to pass a bill to where it was part of the whole war on crypto that Elizabeth Warren was doing, where she was they were trying to make it to where you had to be a broker to buy and sell crypto, and basically tried to cut the legs off of crypto investing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think what we're seeing, it's going to be more wallet based. Like, you will have wallets that if they defunct on loans, then it's on the blockchain, it's transparent. It might be more difficult for those things. Like we do see, I think it was Sonic has some mechanisms like that built into its DeFi layers as well. But it's honestly, it's going to be a pretty transparent, but you open to apply type system. I don't think that there's going to be like minimum amounts of money that will be the barrier. That'd be pretty difficult to build into the system at large. But some sort of flagging system is likely to come up for people that just simply walk away from the loans and they just don't go get a loan at any other DeFi thing either, because it'll get flagged on their wallet. So
there's non-liquidation stuff that's being built into projects too, to where you won't get liquidated, but they're trying to make it a little bit safer for people. But
that's why Morpho was chosen by Coinbase, dude. That's exactly why Morpho was chosen by Coinbase. It wasn't Moonwell and Morpho were very contentious in getting that spot, and I bought both of them, because I knew one of them
Oh,
was
me
going to
too.
win the race. I still hold some Moonwell, but like, yeah, what we saw with Celsius and like people going God mode on their loans, it can go wrong really easily. Um, Obviously Celsius had a degree of fraud involved with it, but yeah, I mean, I think that auto deleveraging systems are going to be very, very important, and because people are going to continue to fuck up, like there's no denying, like people are going to try and over leverage themselves. So having systems like that that will kind of deleverage it and say, hey, you're kind of flying a little close to the sun here, buddy, let's calm it down. I think those are going to keep systems more resilient long term.
Well,
Well,
and
and
you
that's
also got people who utilize multiple DeFi protocols they'll borrow on one and then use it on another and then use
Yeah.
it, and if you get liquidated on one, it could cascade on others. And like with the Binance or the Bybit hack, you get all these other crypto companies lending money to them, and if it doesn't work, if they don't make the money back on those
Yep.
people who are
well,
giving their
what was
liquidity, that would tank everybody.
what was that? Which
So,
one was that they went under and it caused a cascade effect, Drew? It was
Well, I
Three
mean,
Arrows.
it was Luna and
Well,
Three Arrows Capital,
yeah,
Luna, and then you had Celsius, and then the final death blow was FTX. And
yeah, yeah.
there's fraud with every single one of those things.
Well,
And
because
I
they were
think,
all like interconnected and doing
mhm,
on an institutional level, kind of what Crypto Jeff was talking about,
yeah,
where they were borrowing from Peter to pay Paul and
it's a
all that
financial
kind of.
centipede. The financial
What's
centipede.
that?
well, and a lot of people are worried about MicroStrategy falling into the same fate because of how they're using their stock
Mhm.
to
Yeah, they're convertible. They're
you know
making convertible
convert the
bonds.
debt
And,
into, yeah, and if it drops below a certain point, it could cause them to get liquidated and Sailor would be screwed. So I don't know what the whole outlook and inner workings of that would look like, but um I know it could be dangerous, if they're not really careful.
Well, let's ask I mean, I know Taylor is pretty well versed in crypto, not necessarily DeFi, and Jeff is TradFi Jeff, Texas Jeff.
nah,
He doesn't know shit. Taylor, what are your thoughts on DeFi and kind of where things are now and what you would what you think is going to need to happen for it to become mainstream and institutions use it and for it to become commonplace.
Well, it's one of the hardest things is going to be is I mean the reality is the Federal Reserve and the banking industry controls the financial system still, and this is in direct competition with their stranglehold.
Yep.
And so at the end of the day, it's you're talking about the most sophisticated, most intelligent people in the world and working on this and control every one of the major corporations throughout the whole world. And you're trying to compete with that. Now, there's a serious problem that they have, which is they've tried to strangle this thing out already, and they haven't been able to do it. And so, is it going to be an easy guarantee that this system is going to take over and replace the banking industry as we know it? No. But is it the best opportunity that we have to get under the thumb of this organization? Absolutely. So I hope it works out. I hope this becomes the future. I invest in it. I have my money in it. I'm wanting it to become the system of the future, which is taking the middleman out, and hopefully we can have it. But it's you're fighting against the behemoth of all behemoths to make that
David
happen.
and Goliath.
Yes, and
well, yeah. 100%. So the whole reason I've never recommended crypto to my clients was not because I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. That's the second reason. The third reason is the volatility. If you're not the kind of, it's sort of like, there are people that like craps, and there are people that like watching craps, and there's people that will never play craps, period, right? And most of the people that are in crypto right now and have been are early adopters. They're adrenaline junkies. They like the action. They like the sweet. I mean, it's all part of it, right?
Or you're like me. You're just dead inside, and when the market goes
Or you're
up,
dead
you're like, yeah,
inside.
whatever. Market goes down, you're like, yeah, whatever.
But my issue, my primary issue with Bitcoin and everything else has always been, and I think it was in 1933 when Roosevelt took gold, confiscated gold, or maybe it was 37, but it was in the 30s that one day the president of the United States just goes, yep, can't do it, give it to us. No, they paid him a fair price at the time, but still it was illegal to hold, gold dollars. And I actually have one because my grandmother's mother went and buried some out in the backyard for her kids. So here's the major issue. Like when we were kids, right, we played Monopoly. What was the best role of Monopoly? Being the banker, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Nobody wants to give up being the banker. Our country does not function unless it can print its own currency in a deficit. And we've been in a deficit for a very, 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 very long time. Matter of fact, this whole sovereign wealth fund idea, I'm talking about separate, is one of the dumbest things in the world, because people that talk about it are like, well, Abu Dhabi's got one, and Bahrain's got one, and Saudi Arabia's got one. You know what those countries all have in common? Surplus. They have extra money that they need to invest. We don't have extra money. We have the opposite of extra money. We have extra debt. So I do think Bitcoin and stuff has reached a point of self-fulfilling prophecy. It's too much of a behemoth to stop, I think. But my big concern was, what if they just decide one day, hey, we like this blockchain stuff. We're going to create a digital dollar. But because of that, nobody else can transact in the United States with anything else. You can keep your Bitcoin, but you can't use it as legal tender here. And the only thing that's stopping that is the people on the Hill, right? I mean, it's just whether Congress were to pass that law or not. Certainly, the Fed has to have an ability to keep banks liquid, right? And they can't print Bitcoin. That's the whole point about Bitcoin. So I don't know how long it would take, but I think the best, most realistic use case scenario as a currency is that it coexists with the dollar, and because it is because at least Bitcoin doesn't debase itself, right? Or because of the relative debasement of the dollar versus Bitcoin, you get a long-term adoption process by what you guys call the normies, right? But here's where I think we'll know. If in 20 years we go to buy a house and someone goes, how much does that house cost? If somebody says, oh, it's 0.6 Bitcoin instead of $700,000, then we've made that shift, right? But right now, unless you're an absolute true believer, it's a better day when you click on and you see your Bitcoin is worth $10,000 more than when you see it's worth $10,000 less. Because at the end of the day, you care that you can trade it for dollars that you can then go to Disney World with, and Vegas, and cruises, and airplane tickets, and concerts. I understand there's some economy there we can do with Bitcoin and with other crypto, but 99.999% of all transactions in this economy and worldwide are still fiat.
Well, and I'll be honest, and this is just my personal opinion, is I don't ever see Bitcoin things being priced in Bitcoin. I see Bitcoin as a store of value, and Bitcoin will be off ramped into stable coins or some sort of stable coin, and that is what is going to what things will be priced in, because Bitcoin just doesn't have it's slow. Whenever you go
expensive. Like if you do one transaction, you're not going to have people. Is the company or the business going to eat that transaction fee? Because normal people aren't going to spend $5 on a loaf of bread and pay in Bitcoin, and it's another $5 in transaction fee. So
right, you're going to have layers in between, right?
Yeah, and that's where stable coins come in.
I'm just saying though, I'm just making this point. Nobody's waking up right now in Hong Kong, or I don't know where the sun is rising right now, going, man, hey, what's the price of Bitcoin in Botswanan dollars, right? Or in Iraqi dinari, or in, Peruvian lira or whatever. They want to know what it is in dollars, or maybe euros, or maybe yen, but that's it. Nobody cares about that other crap. So I don't know. It's going to be really interesting, but I do think long term it is. Just from at this point, it seems inevitable.
Well, I mean, my thoughts on DeFi. I mean, obviously DeFi is kind of my thing. I see DeFi right now. It's a very small, even people that are in crypto. It's a very small percentage of people that are in DeFi. I see DeFi that there's going to be a institutional DeFi, which is going to be things like Morpho, where they have buckets of assets, and where they're doing loans on with Bitcoin and things like that, through Coinbase and through BlackRock, and those sorts of things. And then there's going to be like a retail DeFi, where people like myself are basically lending people money through smart contracts to where they can invest.
We can see you better that way.
Oh, I don't want to be seen better. Or they can invest in in crypto. They can do day trading, things like that. Take out loans and then pay them back. And that's kind of where I see it going. But obviously regulation is going to play a huge part in the evolution. So until we start seeing the regulation, I can't honestly, with any kind of confidence, say where DeFi is going to go. But well, Jeff, Callie, Jeff, do you have any closing thoughts? I know we're running a little bit over.
No, I like the this dynamic with all of us with different perspectives in different fields, TradFi and crypto and stuff, and the law side. It's a great it's great to bounce all these topic ideas off each other and get different perspectives, because there is a lot that we're kind of flying in the dark with all this, especially now with the institutions coming in and this cycle being so much different than the previous ones. And the fact that you have such a flood of altcoins and meme coins, that it kind of dilutes the market a lot more than previous cycles. So, and the fact that we've had such a drop in all these altcoins, I don't know how many of them will even see all-time highs this year. Maybe some of them will be close, but I think with the amount of assets there are, people are going to be, it's going to be spread a lot more thin. But so
I don't know, man. A lot of them went to zero, right? Like we're kind of like millions and millions of projects. A lot of them went
what
fucking
the hell
zero.
is going on here?
I'm out of my
Drew's
prairie.
scared
I'm about to shut my chicken coop down here. Hold on.
Okay, that was just a ghoulish thing, but that's fine. That's cool.
But yeah, pick your coins strategically this cycle.
Yeah.
So all I can say.
Yeah. So Jeff, closing thoughts.
Man, I don't know, dude. It's we had the Zelensky thing, and then we had the crypto reserve thing. Was it this morning or yesterday or whatever? And all I know is I feel like things are moving faster than they ever have before. Somebody said in the comments a long time ago, asked about, I think Raul Powell was talking about make as much money to 2030 as possible and fourth turnings. And I am morbidly curious and very concerned all at the same time. How about that? I mean, I can't. It's like a train wreck, dude. I can't. I mean, we may be going into the golden age of humanity, or it might all completely go to shit. So, yeah. And if it does, I know I'm going to come in one of y'all's homesteaders' homes and offer to sleep in the chicken coop. Maybe, who knows? But I gotta go, gentlemen. So I gotta sign off. But I really appreciate it. It's been a great conversation.
No, absolutely. We'll have to get this dialed in a little better. But Taylor, you're on mute. What are your closing thoughts?
Still on me. There you go.
My closing thoughts are shit's going to hit the fan. Be ready.
All right. Druth, closing thoughts. Oh, I think he froze up. All right. Well, all right, Druth, before you drop out again, closing thoughts.
Buckle up, Buttercup. The shit's about to get fucking crazy, man. You know what? I'll say that UK and the European Union's probably going to try to act hard against Russia. Things are going to get weird, and we're going to cut a deal with Russia for those minerals. And that's where the history timeline gets all fucked up about 4 years from now. So I think it's going to be pretty crazy. Happy I own crypto. I am not selling my 3% mortgage. I'm going to buy more in my hillbilly heaven out here. I'm going to buy actually this property behind me. I'm buying all these trees.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful piece of property. We'll give him a second.
He dropped.
There he is. So you're going to double down on some real estate?
Yeah, I'm buying what's behind me, which is a couple of years. And man, it's just, this is where you have to be a little brave. You know, things are breaking. We all acknowledge things are breaking. It's about being brave. It's about leaning into the danger. Forward-facing enemy, right? As they say. Mike, you know that saying. So I think I'm in for a treat. I'm in for some chaos, some great headlines. And everyone that's paying attention, it's going to be all right. It's up to us to spread the information about what's going on to help others save their ass from what's coming. So,
absolutely. All right. Well, my closing thoughts are make a very planned and calculated plan on how you are going to secure the value that you currently hold and any future value that you're going to generate, how to where it can maximize the amount of gains that you can get, and not just the crypto industry, but in the traditional finance, real estate. You really need to buckle down and get serious about what it is that you're doing with the value that you currently hold, because I personally think in these next years that you are going to have an opportunity of a lifetime, and I'm not the only one saying it, that to multiply what you have many times over, and be able to leverage that to create a future for you and your family. So and one of the ways that you can do that is in DeFi. If you haven't, you need to learn about DeFi, because the whole time that these markets were tanking, me personally, off of about $10,000, I was still making $100 plus a day.
Mhm.
And sideways market, same thing. Up market, same thing. So the whole time everybody was panicking, I stacked this past month. I stacked $2,000. I made 20% return on investment when the market was tanking. So don't go all in. Use a portion of your portfolio, and learn about DeFi. Use it to earn free dry powder, so that you can invest, like Drew's talking about, in real estate. So that you can secure those assets that are going to help you advance and help your family advance in the future. So I'll end with that. I appreciate you guys for showing up, and we'll get this dialed in for next Sunday.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
Have a good night, Deadwood. All of you that showed up, we appreciate you.
All right. See you guys.
Veteran Crypto
Later,
out.
fellas.